Come check these nuts.
Egg has been planted.
All right, guys. To those who are on YouTube, welcome everybody. This is a little tutorial about the Mantis and snares and dampeners and all other ships with this shiny red bubbles around them. Let's try to keep it as short as possible. I'm right now in a Mantis at the own point of Hurston. Let's assume like this patch, there is like a lot of trading going on with RMC from Hurston to RCorp, right? We don't want to engage with traders on spot where they buy. We want to be a little bit more discreet for whatever reasons, right? It doesn't matter. The fact is we want to interdict them on their trade route, right? On the way from Hurston, when they have the cargo, to RCorp. In my tutorial that I did many years ago, we did the manual calculations. I explained how the snare works, why you have to be at a certain place at a certain distance. And that was very in-depth, very long. The game evolved, tools have been created, and one of the probably the only one and the best tool for that is created by Mr. Prighton, genius, who did all of that manual math on a website. The website is called snareplan.dolus.eu. It's going to be in the description of the video, all the links. Basically, here is our interface. We can see a standing system here. This looks like a little bit confusing overall at the start, but it will make a lot of sense very soon. From Hurston to RCorp. This is your interface where you do that. Origins, destination, that's where you want to look at. So we can type in Hurston. There we go. We can type in RCorp. That's our destination. Right now, all you have to do is click Show Results. That's it. So what it's going to show you is route instructions. There are other modes like position navigation and chase, which I will not go through right now because it will take a lot of time. I'm going to go through the basics here to show you how to get your basic position and how to operate a Mantis. And the more in-depth Dolus SnarePlan review will be done in another video, okay? So what do we see? We see this line that goes from Hurston down to RCorp. This is not just a spline. This is actually, if you zoom in, this is a corridor. The corridor gets thinner towards the destination. You can even click draw interdiction corridor for selected position, but that is like another thing. I'm not going to get into that. So that means this is your approximate place where everyone will jump from the Hurston. Basically, it's physics grid. I'm not going to get into physics grids. That's going to be another video. And this cone of jump gets thinner and thinner towards RCorp. This bar here shows you where the theoretical interdiction is possible. You can scroll it like that. Okay? So what this says is when you jump in your Mantis anywhere from Hurston to RCorp, you should stop your quantum drive from 228 mm to 1.9 mm. That means you would be in the interdiction position, right? What you want to do is, if it's possible, not to stay in a comlink range. So when you pirate someone, you don't get crime stat. You can see right now it says in comlink range. You roll it back to understand where the comlink range is, and you can see everything above 23,000 kilometers basically is outside of a comlink range. So with the new metrics that they redid this patch, it's like basically 25 mm, you can say 30. And why you want to get as close as possible is because the further you go, the quantum jump tunnel gets bigger and bigger. So when you want to sit in the spot where that quantum tunnel is as small as possible for you. Also, we have the display comlink ranges here, which will show you the comlink range. It shows you here on the bar, here on the map, so you know, right? So we want to sit somewhere here, let's say. We want to sit at 30. We want to sit at 30 mm. So when we decided that, all we got to do, select our destination, which would be RCorp, hit enter, press R, or any way you prefer to set your destinations. Now, when you jump, you want to follow the distance, right? You don't want to fall asleep and miss your target, or you will have to redo this jump all over again. You'll have to return back to Hurston and jump back to RCorp. Unfortunately, CEG have not yet implemented an ability to set bookmarks in space. So you cannot do this place once, save it as a bookmark, as a marker, and then be able to warp there in multiple sessions or even in one session, right? It's just not possible. We are getting closer to RCorp. That's where we should pay attention and keep basically our hand on the nav mode button and be ready to cut the jump earlier than we arrive at our destination, right? We are looking in 50 to 30 mm's distance. And now it's going down really fast. And we just prepare and wait for the right moment to click. And we click. We exited the quantum and we never reached the R-core. That's what we want to see. We want to see here on the top left of the screen that comlink is not present. So if we engage in a lawless act of piracy, cops will not try to bite us at our ass, and we will not have any bounty hunters following us afterwards, right? The new symbol for the comlink is a little eyeball in brackets. And that's how you know that comlink is there or not, right? So we are 41 mm. Just to double check, here's the browser. We look here from 228 to 1.9. We are at 45. That sets us somewhere here. This, how small the tunnel is, the green thing. This is our 20-kilometer bubble. Perfect. And now we're gonna go through certain Mantis controls. Prior to setting up a snare, you wanna just double check where approximately you have to look for. You type in Hurston, you set the destination, you enable the drive, you see where Hurston is, it's right there, and who you are looking for are going to fly from there, right? We can disable that, we're gonna go to SCM. So now it is time to put up the snare. You do this by enabling it here, either here or here, it doesn't matter. You press the QED on, QED shows up in red, and it shows 0 out of 100. What you gotta do is either manually, through the interaction menu, press the quantum snare charge, or press your secondary trigger button. We press it here, it starts charging. With the current patch, they updated the logic of Mantis, and the charge is very slow. But what they did is they removed the cooldown when you put down the snare, and I will explain a little bit later why. While flying a Mantis and snaring, something you have to have as a habit is remembering your secondary mouse click or secondary trigger, whatever control scheme you're using, will always either activate a snare or deactivate it. A lot of pilots, including me, during the fight, in the heat of a battle, would either press all mouse buttons to attack, or grab all the triggers on their joystick and press it, all of them, and it will disable the snare. And basically screw the engagement because the target is no longer snare and they can run away. Now that the snare is charged, almost, we will be able to activate it any second. You can hear the sound, distinct sound of a charge. Looks beautiful, one of the best things in the entire game. And now we can either press the secondary trigger, or we can go here again and press quantum snare initiate. This is the activation moment where your snare is working. Please warp towards me. I've exited the party so the team markers, the group markers don't distract us, so we can see the proper picture of what you would see while doing this. Next stop. There we go. The marker popped up. Please, guys, stay there for now. Don't move. We caught Cornholio. So you would see this marker. I'll zoom to show. You would see this marker pop up. That is the snare, right? The marker would look like this. It's a weird icon. You see that square, but apparently that's going to be changed later. It's whatever new system. I think it's a bug. But for now, you can see another marker popped up. That means another ship got interdicted. The markers will stay for quite a while. I would say like 5 minutes at least. But the targets obviously at that point will move out from that location. The snaring distance is inconsistent. Cornholio got snared at almost 20 kilometers. Tumbler got snared at below 10 kilometers. So sometimes you will not see the targets. What you have to do is rush to them to get them. And now there's an important part, how to get them. After the introduction of the master modes, the snare was reworked. And what the snare does, it pulls out you from the quantum. It doesn't allow you to warp away, but it never puts your speed down. So we are right now in an SCM mode, which means our speed is low, but they got pulled out by a snare and they're affected by a snare, but they're still in the nav mode, which means their speed is high. So what we have to do is rush to the target using boost. We see the target is far. It might try to run away, whatever direction. You can use pings. If you don't see the target, it will give you a cloud where the target approximately is. So now that we've caught up with the target, we can activate a dampener. To activate a dampener, you have to release the snare, either by right-clicking or pressing this, and go to this interaction to the right, and do the Q dampener activate. At this point, the dampener will activate and affect the target. Dampener is a second system in Mantis that doesn't snare, it doesn't pull out the ship out of quantum, but it does completely destroy their nav, which means they are not able to warp out, and they're not able to go high speed. That is the critical change in how Mantis works in this patch after the master modes have been introduced. Previously, you would use the snare and only the snare. Now you have to switch from the snare to the dampener to get the chase actually going. So now they're in an SCM speed, and I'm in an SCM speed, and I'm faster, and I can catch up. If it's not a fighter ship, I can dictate my rules here, right? In this case, it's a Cutty Blue, but it doesn't matter. If it would be a trader, I can start attacking. I can be at their tail. It doesn't matter. If you're smart enough, they will not hit you, right? Unless they have protection. So the Mantis dampener, unlike the previous patch, is now not 2 kilometers, but it's 12 kilometers. So whenever you reach the target after snaring it, and you're closer than 12 kilometers, you should immediately disable the snare and activate the dampener to get them down to the SCM speeds, right? And that is the basic rule of how you catch people. After that, it's up to you. It's up to your tactics. You can ransom them. You can soft death them. You can take their cargo. You can do whatever you want with them. It's not the part of this video, right? The thing is to show you how this works. One thing to notice is the fact that my teammates are ramming each other. But aside of that, is to notice if you're working in a group with someone, whenever you snare a person, your teammate will see your Mantis go red. And that's a good sign that interdiction is incoming, and it will happen even before the marker will show up. It's a good warning sign. Unfortunately, as a Mantis pilot, you get no confirmations besides that marker that something is happening. There is no sound, nothing. Other obvious warnings that you have to understand what ship Mantis is. It's a fast but a very fragile ship. The last thing you want to do is actually like engage in proper combat with combat ships on it. Your engines are low HP, your fuel tanks like cheeks are low HP. Whenever you have your snare or dampener up, your EM emissions are high, so EM missiles will be like magnetized to you. You will probably not be able to drop missiles like dumping, basically panic dumping flares that will not even help. So your only option would be like outrunning and outmaneuvering them. All of that should be considered, right? If you have teammates, maybe they take over with dampening and you switch it off so you can like dodge off some missiles. We've dealt with the target. We did whatever we wanted to do. During that process, we moved from our interdiction tunnel, right? So one way to do it would be to go back in Hurston and jump back to R-Corp. But due to the miraculous and wonderful tool that Triton has gifted us for free, we can actually recalibrate our position to where we have to be to completely interdict that Hurston to R-Corp tunnel, right? To do that, you gotta type show location in your chat like this, /show location. Not in console, but right here. Press enter, you will get the coordinates. This will not be seen in just global, in party, this will be only seen in all. But what is most important, it copies these coordinates into your buffer, in your copy paste, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. So what we do is we go back to the browser, to our SnarePlan, we click on a position verification, and we paste it here. And it shows us what's going on with our position. The red circle is our bubble. The green circle is the tunnel we're trying to interdict. Only 20% coverage from the top, only 3% coverage from the front cross section. We have to go up almost 9 kilometers, and we have to go left 21 kilometers. What is up and left? That is the second question. We go back to the game, we find the star, it's opposite of the planet we're interdicting, right? And we have to understand our rotation. You want to enable your quantum drive. To understand the correct positioning on a plane, where it's left and right, up and down, you have to make sure that the star is above the plane of all the markers. This is the proper position. This is inverted position. This is the proper position. So now you know, if you look at the help that SnarePlan is giving you, you know that you're looking correctly. So there's the horizon. That's where we have to look at. That's our like point of view, right? We go back to the browser, up 9 kilometers. So at this point, we can just remove the QD. And the one way to see where the horizon is, you can see like right now, from the starting with the current patch, you can actually see the stars, right? So there is no real way to measure like 8 kilometers, but you just do it like intuitively. You go up and you just wait. You're going like around with boost, you're going around like 400 meters per second, right? Blah, blah, blah. You stop. You let this ship stop completely. You do the show location again to copy your coordinates. Boom. Confirmation is there in chat. You know it worked. You go to the browser. You paste it over. Boom. You can see this green circle moved. At this point, when the green circle is so small compared to our interdiction bubble, these kilometers don't really matter. Like, at all. It's far, far beyond what is necessary, right? So now the thing is, we're still 22 kilometers left, right? And we have to strafe left, basically 23 kilometers. For this, I'll just enable nav, just to make sure I'm looking at the right plane, you see? So I don't ruin my up and down position. We do the show location again. We go to browser. We check. Look what we see. We're still 8 kilometers off, but it doesn't really matter because the green bubble is so small inside of a huge bubble. You can make it perfect, but that just doesn't matter. It says 100% coverage from a top down, 100% coverage from the face forwarding cross section. You're back in action. You can enable the snare again, and you're like catching people, right? The position navigation and chase and more complicated route instructions I will cover in a separate video because it's taking too long. Now we've covered Mantis. We've covered both Snare and Dampener. You understand the basics. There are other two ships I want to quickly go through. All right, guys, here is our Cutty Blue. We're gonna gracefully enter it. A very universal ship for bounty pirating. Has a turret. You can have a fancy turret gunner. Helps a lot, both in previous flight model and in current master modes. But we're here to talk more about the quantum dampener. Pretty simple. Not as complicated as Mantis. You have an option to do this. This is where the key is. Right? That's the position. One tap, QD on. Another tap, QD active. Disgusting visual effects. Apparently broken for like years. You can literally see seams here. Should have been rotated, moved so it works properly, and the center screen should never be so obstructed by red. Should have been like in a Mantis, but that's a little rant. Disable. Enable. All dampeners in a game are instant. You don't need to charge it. Only the snare should be charged. It prevents people to warp out and drops their speed to SM even if they are in the nav mode. First thing you gotta know about the dampener in Cutlass Blue, it is 4 kilometers, unlike 12 kilometers in a Mantis. Previously, every ship's dampener was 2 kilometers. Now, Mantis is 12, Cutlass Blue is 4, and Antares is 5. I expect these values to change, maybe even in the near future, but it is what it is for now. I will keep you updated if that's going to change. So we have a target. It is further than my dampener can reach. It is 7 kilometers out, and it is trying to run away. Motors, please start trying to run away. First thing I want to do is obviously go nav mode and chase it down because we are out of range. Now, depending on the combat, you want to either always instantly get when you're 4 kilometers, or you want to chase closer. Because to switch to the dampener, you have to do this. You have to exit the nav mode and enable dampener. And now we have a server delay, and we just hope he will not breach the distance before the dampener actually activates, right? And apparently he didn't, because we are right now flying 2.5 kilometers, I'm going 200, and he cannot go faster. We are keeping basically the same distance. So he is dampened, he is in the nav mode, I can target him, he has no shields, he is still in the nav mode, but he cannot go fast, right? Now he's getting into the combat mode, his shields are up, and his EM goes down. That's because he disabled the quantum drive. Okay, last ship, Antares. I'm gonna check that out. Scorpius Antares. It's a Scorpius without the turret. Instead of a turret, the ship has a dampener device, basically, and an EMP device. The key quote-unquote feature for the ship, it requires 2 people. This is a very controversial ship due to the fact that co-pilot will be operating only 2 buttons without a turret and basically nothing else. Recent patches you can operate missiles, but for some people that is not an optimal gameplay. Let's put it like this, right? With the new master modes changes though, if you do have a co-pilot who wants to do it, this ship might become a low-key good interdictor, I would say, due to the different characteristics and due to the increased range of a dampener. So it has 5-kilometer dampener, 1 kilometer more than a Cuddy blue. All right, there we go, Antares. What is important is 0 controls over EMP or QD, right? These are the weird buttons saying cringe. With the new master modes, is the communication. It's more important than it was important before, because there is a switch between nav, SCM, right? And we want to engage the target. We need to dampen him ASAP. We have the dampener of 5 kilometers, right? Obviously, we go first into the nav mode. We give it as much boost. Corn, you can run away. We close in. We are 5. I go nav. Motors enables dampener. There's a slingshot here due to the opposite momentum. And he is dampened. He cannot run. Right? Same stuff, but you have to communicate with your co-pilot. Okay, we will try to EMP. I usually prefer the ship running 2 distortions, 2 cannons. Motors is EMP charged. He has 0 shields. You can EMP. Something went wrong. It won't work. You cannot EMP? I didn't know that is broken. What a tutorial. Oh my god, what a noob. We are going to enter a gunner seat. I don't know why it is still called a gunner seat. While it's just a co-pilot seat, you don't have any guns. The pilot is in. We'll power up our console. No visor UI on targets. 0 information. Can barely switch something. Cannot select target here. The only thing that is useful for you is probably this to see the charges. And as I was just informed, the EMP is not properly working. Has the turret to see the charges. Interaction changed. Keybind will not work for now. QD on. Bro, this is brother. I'm just trying to understand. How did I enable QD in the turret? Oh, the fuck, bro. Give me a second. I need to give people some information. This is dog shit. Oh, now it's broken. So it doesn't work. It doesn't work in a combination. That's how you see you're in a scanning mode. Bro, I just probably shouldn't do even a tutorial on this shit, bro. Oh, what a fail of a ship, guys.
2 hours later.
Doesn't charge. Cycling modes here. Doesn't charge. It is connected to the turret. No matter how long I swap here, it's not charging. Cycle here, charge. That's it. We fixed it. I mean, you cannot call it fix it, but we did fix it. We can use it. We can pre-charge the EMP in the nav mode. The question is it considered to be exploit? The answer is, I don't know. We start chasing him. The moment I hear disabled nav, I'm enabling here QD. The first thing I do. Dampener activate. Turret, swap, turret disable. Wait for range. Wait for range below 600. Pop EMP. EMP popped. Can charge again. Easy, isn't it?